He was very happy.
He was very happy.
Él estaba muy feliz.
He was very happy. She looked quite sad.
She looked quite sad.
Ella parecía bastante triste.
She looked quite sad. They were really tired.
They were really tired.
Ellos estaban realmente cansados.
They were really tired. The house seemed old.
The house seemed old.
La casa parecía vieja.
The house seemed old. It was extremely cold.
It was extremely cold.
Estaba extremadamente frío.
It was extremely cold. The food tasted delicious.
The food tasted delicious.
La comida sabía deliciosa.
The food tasted delicious. He felt truly lonely.
He felt truly lonely.
Él se sentía verdaderamente solo.
He felt truly lonely. She became very nervous.
She became very nervous.
Ella se puso muy nerviosa.
She became very nervous. The room looked messy.
The room looked messy.
La habitación parecía desordenada.
The room looked messy. It sounded so loud.
It sounded so loud.
Sonaba muy fuerte.
It sounded so loud. He seemed really angry.
He seemed really angry.
Él parecía realmente enojado.
He seemed really angry. She appeared very calm.
She appeared very calm.
Ella se veía muy tranquila.
She appeared very calm. The sky turned red.
The sky turned red.
El cielo se puso rojo.
The sky turned red. The trip was amazing.
The trip was amazing.
El viaje fue increíble.
The trip was amazing. They felt quite scared.
They felt quite scared.
Ellos se sintieron bastante asustados.
They felt quite scared. He looked completely lost.
He looked completely lost.
Él parecía completamente perdido.
He looked completely lost. She was deeply hurt.
She was deeply hurt.
Ella estaba profundamente herida.
She was deeply hurt. It became really dark.
It became really dark.
Se puso realmente oscuro.
It became really dark. The day was unforgettable.
The day was unforgettable.
El día fue inolvidable.
The day was unforgettable. They sounded very excited.
They sounded very excited.
Sonaban muy emocionados.
They sounded very excited. The movie was boring.
The movie was boring.
La película fue aburrida.
The movie was boring. He looked extremely surprised.
He looked extremely surprised.
Él parecía extremadamente sorprendido.
He looked extremely surprised. She was so charming.
She was so charming.
Ella era tan encantadora.
She was so charming. The weather felt perfect.
The weather felt perfect.
El clima se sintió perfecto.
The weather felt perfect. The beach seemed peaceful.
The beach seemed peaceful.
La playa parecía tranquila.
The beach seemed peaceful. He felt very confident.
He felt very confident.
Él se sintió muy confiado.
He felt very confident. She became quite brave.
She became quite brave.
Ella se volvió bastante valiente.
She became quite brave. They were so curious.
They were so curious.
Ellos eran muy curiosos.
They were so curious. The cat was scared.
The cat was scared.
El gato estaba asustado.
The cat was scared. It was very bright.
It was very bright.
Estaba muy brillante.
It was very bright. The party seemed fun.
The party seemed fun.
La fiesta parecía divertida.
The party seemed fun. He was very serious.
He was very serious.
Él estaba muy serio.
He was very serious. She seemed absolutely thrilled.
She seemed absolutely thrilled.
Ella parecía absolutamente emocionada.
She seemed absolutely thrilled. The news was shocking.
The news was shocking.
Las noticias fueron impactantes.
The news was shocking. It felt extremely satisfying.
It felt extremely satisfying.
Se sintió extremadamente satisfactorio.
It felt extremely satisfying. The team looked ready.
The team looked ready.
El equipo parecía listo.
The team looked ready. He was completely speechless.
He was completely speechless.
Él estaba completamente sin palabras.
He was completely speechless. She was clearly worried.
She was clearly worried.
Ella estaba claramente preocupada.
She was clearly worried. It sounded incredibly strange.
It sounded incredibly strange.
Sonaba increíblemente extraño.
It sounded incredibly strange. The painting was beautiful.
The painting was beautiful.
La pintura era hermosa.
The painting was beautiful. The garden was lovely.
The garden was lovely.
El jardín era encantador.
The garden was lovely. She was very elegant.
She was very elegant.
Ella era muy elegante.
She was very elegant. He became surprisingly patient.
He became surprisingly patient.
Él se volvió sorprendentemente paciente.
He became surprisingly patient. They were deeply moved.
They were deeply moved.
Ellos estaban profundamente conmovidos.
They were deeply moved. The idea seemed smart.
The idea seemed smart.
La idea parecía inteligente.
The idea seemed smart. The dog was playful.
The dog was playful.
El perro era juguetón.
The dog was playful. He sounded so hopeful.
He sounded so hopeful.
Él sonaba tan esperanzado.
He sounded so hopeful. She was slightly irritated.
She was slightly irritated.
Ella estaba ligeramente irritada.
She was slightly irritated. The view was breathtaking.
The view was breathtaking.
La vista era impresionante.
The view was breathtaking. The story felt realistic.
The story felt realistic.
La historia se sintió realista.
The story felt realistic. He was truly heroic.
He was truly heroic.
Él era verdaderamente heroico.
He was truly heroic. She looked quite shy.
She looked quite shy.
Ella parecía bastante tímida.
She looked quite shy. They became close friends.
They became close friends.
Ellos se volvieron amigos cercanos.
They became close friends. It sounded very familiar.
It sounded very familiar.
Sonaba muy familiar.
It sounded very familiar. The road felt endless.
The road felt endless.
El camino se sintió interminable.
The road felt endless. He felt very inspired.
He felt very inspired.
Él se sintió muy inspirado.
He felt very inspired. She looked pretty happy.
She looked pretty happy.
Ella parecía bastante feliz.
She looked pretty happy. The forest seemed magical.
The forest seemed magical.
El bosque parecía mágico.
The forest seemed magical. It was absolutely silent.
It was absolutely silent.
Está absolutamente silencioso.
It was absolutely silent. The sky turned gray.
The sky turned gray.
El cielo se puso gris.
The sky turned gray. The lake felt cool.
The lake felt cool.
El lago se sintió fresco.
The lake felt cool. He became more determined.
He became more determined.
Él se volvió más determinado.
He became more determined. She was clearly focused.
She was clearly focused.
Ella estaba claramente concentrada.
She was clearly focused. The room seemed empty.
The room seemed empty.
La habitación parecía vacía.
The room seemed empty. The music was relaxing.
The music was relaxing.
La música era relajante.
The music was relaxing. It was so quiet.
It was so quiet.
Estaba tan tranquilo.
It was so quiet. They were very understanding.
They were very understanding.
Ellos eran muy comprensivos.
They were very understanding. The hike was challenging.
The hike was challenging.
La caminata fue desafiante.
The hike was challenging. She felt deeply satisfied.
She felt deeply satisfied.
Ella se sintió profundamente satisfecha.
She felt deeply satisfied. He was incredibly brave.
He was incredibly brave.
Él era increíblemente valiente.
He was incredibly brave. It tasted quite strange.
It tasted quite strange.
Sabía bastante extraño.
It tasted quite strange. The chair looked broken.
The chair looked broken.
La silla parecía rota.
The chair looked broken. The glass seemed fragile.
The glass seemed fragile.
El vidrio parecía frágil.
The glass seemed fragile. They sounded very kind.
They sounded very kind.
Sonaban muy amables.
They sounded very kind. The colors were vibrant.
The colors were vibrant.
Los colores eran vibrantes.
The colors were vibrant. The plan felt solid.
The plan felt solid.
El plan se sintió sólido.
The plan felt solid. He appeared more confident.
He appeared more confident.
Él parecía más confiado.
He appeared more confident. She looked totally amused.
She looked totally amused.
Ella parecía totalmente divertida.
She looked totally amused. It was unbelievably dark.
It was unbelievably dark.
Estaba increíblemente oscuro.
It was unbelievably dark. The moment felt surreal.
The moment felt surreal.
El momento se sintió surrealista.
The moment felt surreal. The soup tasted bad.
The soup tasted bad.
La sopa sabía mal.
The soup tasted bad. He was incredibly smart.
He was incredibly smart.
Él era increíblemente inteligente.
He was incredibly smart. She was stunningly beautiful.
She was stunningly beautiful.
Ella era impresionantemente hermosa.
She was stunningly beautiful. The bridge looked shaky.
The bridge looked shaky.
El puente parecía inestable.
The bridge looked shaky. The snow felt cold.
The snow felt cold.
La nieve se sintió fría.
The snow felt cold. The tree was tall.
The tree was tall.
El árbol era alto.
The tree was tall. The trail seemed endless.
The trail seemed endless.
El sendero parecía interminable.
The trail seemed endless. He felt truly inspired.
He felt truly inspired.
Él se sintió verdaderamente inspirado.
He felt truly inspired. She seemed utterly speechless.
She seemed utterly speechless.
Ella parecía completamente sin palabras.
She seemed utterly speechless. The exam was difficult.
The exam was difficult.
El examen fue difícil.
The exam was difficult. It became super cloudy.
It became super cloudy.
Se puso súper nublado.
It became super cloudy. They were totally supportive.
They were totally supportive.
Ellos fueron totalmente solidarios.
They were totally supportive. The movie seemed interesting.
The movie seemed interesting.
La película parecía interesante.
The movie seemed interesting. The book was inspiring.
The book was inspiring.
El libro era inspirador.
The book was inspiring. He sounded very confident.
He sounded very confident.
Él sonaba muy confiado.
He sounded very confident. She looked extremely pleased.
She looked extremely pleased.
Ella parecía extremadamente satisfecha.
She looked extremely pleased. The forest felt peaceful.
The forest felt peaceful.
El bosque se sintió tranquilo.
The forest felt peaceful. It was extremely windy.
It was extremely windy.
Estaba extremadamente ventoso.
It was extremely windy. The concert was exciting.
The concert was exciting.
El concierto fue emocionante.
The concert was exciting. The crowd seemed huge.
The crowd seemed huge.
La multitud parecía enorme.
The crowd seemed huge. He felt totally exhausted.
He felt totally exhausted.
Él se sintió totalmente exhausto.
He felt totally exhausted. She looked very delighted.
She looked very delighted.
Ella se veía muy contenta.
She looked very delighted. The sunset was breathtaking.
The sunset was breathtaking.
La puesta de sol era impresionante.
The sunset was breathtaking. The light seemed bright.
The light seemed bright.
La luz parecía brillante.
The light seemed bright. The river felt cold.
The river felt cold.
El río se sintió frío.
The river felt cold. The car looked dirty.
The car looked dirty.
El coche parecía sucio.
The car looked dirty. The cake tasted sweet.
The cake tasted sweet.
El pastel sabía dulce.
The cake tasted sweet. He became very thoughtful.
He became very thoughtful.
Él se volvió muy reflexivo.
He became very thoughtful. She appeared somewhat frustrated.
She appeared somewhat frustrated.
Ella parecía algo frustrada.
She appeared somewhat frustrated. It sounded really scary.
It sounded really scary.
Sonaba realmente aterrador.
It sounded really scary. The class seemed interesting.
The class seemed interesting.
La clase parecía interesante.
The class seemed interesting. He became quite skilled.
He became quite skilled.
Él se volvió bastante hábil.
He became quite skilled. She was unbelievably fast.
She was unbelievably fast.
Ella era increíblemente rápida.
She was unbelievably fast. The building looked historic.
The building looked historic.
El edificio parecía histórico.
The building looked historic. The room felt cozy.
The room felt cozy.
La habitación se sintió acogedora.
The room felt cozy. The town was quiet.
The town was quiet.
El pueblo era tranquilo.
The town was quiet. It became strangely silent.
It became strangely silent.
Se puso extrañamente silencioso.
It became strangely silent. They were very friendly.
They were very friendly.
Ellos eran muy amigables.
They were very friendly. The trail looked steep.
The trail looked steep.
El sendero parecía empinado.
The trail looked steep. The rain felt refreshing.
The rain felt refreshing.
La lluvia se sintió refrescante.
The rain felt refreshing. He seemed deeply concerned.
He seemed deeply concerned.
Él parecía profundamente preocupado.
He seemed deeply concerned. She felt absolutely relieved.
She felt absolutely relieved.
Ella se sintió absolutamente aliviada.
She felt absolutely relieved. The movie felt realistic.
The movie felt realistic.
La película se sintió realista.
The movie felt realistic. The coffee tasted bitter.
The coffee tasted bitter.
El café sabía amargo.
The coffee tasted bitter. The grass looked green.
The grass looked green.
La hierba parecía verde.
The grass looked green. It was incredibly noisy.
It was incredibly noisy.
Estaba increíblemente ruidoso.
It was incredibly noisy. The street was busy.
The street was busy.
La calle estaba ocupada.
The street was busy. He felt completely useless.
He felt completely useless.
Él se sintió completamente inútil.
He felt completely useless. She looked totally relieved.
She looked totally relieved.
Ella parecía totalmente aliviada.
She looked totally relieved. The sky turned orange.
The sky turned orange.
El cielo se puso naranja.
The sky turned orange. The flowers smelled nice.
The flowers smelled nice.
Las flores olían bien.
The flowers smelled nice. The day felt long.
The day felt long.
El día se sintió largo.
The day felt long. The game was intense.
The game was intense.
El juego fue intenso.
The game was intense. The meeting seemed dull.
The meeting seemed dull.
La reunión parecía aburrida.
The meeting seemed dull. It was slightly cold.
It was slightly cold.
Estaba ligeramente frío.
It was slightly cold. The house looked clean.
The house looked clean.
La casa parecía limpia.
The house looked clean. The bed felt soft.
The bed felt soft.
La cama se sintió suave.
The bed felt soft. He was quite surprised.
He was quite surprised.
Él estaba bastante sorprendido.
He was quite surprised. She was highly supportive.
She was highly supportive.
Ella era altamente solidaria.
She was highly supportive. It became so warm.
It became so warm.
Se puso tan cálido.
It became so warm. The scenery looked amazing.
The scenery looked amazing.
El paisaje parecía increíble.
The scenery looked amazing. The park felt safe.
The park felt safe.
El parque se sintió seguro.
The park felt safe. The storm was scary.
The storm was scary.
La tormenta fue aterradora.
The storm was scary. He became more outgoing.
He became more outgoing.
Él se volvió más sociable.
He became more outgoing. She felt highly confident.
She felt highly confident.
Ella se sintió muy confiada.
She felt highly confident. The cat looked fluffy.
The cat looked fluffy.
El gato parecía esponjoso.
The cat looked fluffy. It was quite peaceful.
It was quite peaceful.
Estaba bastante tranquilo.
It was quite peaceful. They were extremely helpful.
They were extremely helpful.
Ellos fueron extremadamente serviciales.
They were extremely helpful. The clouds seemed heavy.
The clouds seemed heavy.
Las nubes parecían pesadas.
The clouds seemed heavy. The town felt welcoming.
The town felt welcoming.
El pueblo se sintió acogedor.
The town felt welcoming.